Hi, Tim Unkert here, and in this video we are going to be continuing with our landing page that we built using Tailwind CSS. In part one, we installed Tailwind CSS into our project folder and created this fixed nav bar, and in part two we created the hero here. Here is the finished project, so you'll see we have a few more sections to go. I'm going to try and tackle the middle two sections for this video, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we got done with the hero section. So now we are going to begin what I call info section 1. Okay, and within info section 1, we're going to have a div with an ID of info section 1 with a class of the background dark gray. Okay, and then within that div, we're going to have another div with a class of container. MX auto, so that's going to center it on the x-axis. Max width screen extra large. On small screens, we're going to have pixels padding on the x-axis of 8, padding on the y-axis 12. And those are predefined, so you can look those up in the documentation. Once we break out of the small screens, we're going to go to a display of flex, and we're also going to justify in between. Okay, we're going to close that out, and then inside of that div, we're going to have an ID with left info section. So this is going to be the left side. Class. The width on small screens is going to be full, and then once we go above small screens, we're going to have the width is going to be 2/5 of the screen. And then within that, we're going to have an H3 with a class of that light color. The text is going to be size 3XL and padding on the y-axis of 2. Okay, and we're going to say something like simple yet sophisticated, which, yeah, makes no sense, but whatever. Or maybe it does, I don't know. And then we're going to close out the heading, and then we're going to have a paragraph with a class of LBJ. Text is going to be size 2XL, padding on the y-axis, the second one, so that's, it's a certain amount of RAM. So let me just actually bring up the Tailwind CSS, read the docs here. I'm just going to show you a little bit more documentation. Start learning. I think we want to find utilities here. Utility first. And then below that, let's see. So keep going down. Padding, boom. So padding 2, that one I'm using a lot. That's a half rem. Okay. Some of the other ones I'm using is padding 4. That's 1 rem. Okay. So I was playing with numbers, seeing what worked, and just kind of going through this. So that I would recommend you doing the same, and then that'll give you a good idea of what looks right. Okay. All right, back to our coding, our markup. So within this, I'm going to have a paragraph. I'm going to say something like, why build something complicated when it can be just as elegant with a simple structure. Okay, close out that paragraph. We're going to have a paragraph with a class of LBJ. That's that light color. Text is going to be the large size, padding Y of 2. I think the large text is 1.25 rem versus standard base text is 1 rem. And we're going to say something, sometimes just HTML5 and CSS3 will do the trick. And that's true in several cases. Don't pay for what you don't need. Sometimes you need something more complex, so we'll get to that section next after this. Okay, and then we're going to close out our div. So the left info section, we're closing that out. And then we're going to move into the right info section. So I'm going to say a div with an ID of right info section. I'm going to call this 1, and actually I want to go up here and also call this 1. Not that I really use these, but just kind of because we have 2 sections, so just, you know, we don't have 2 IDs that are the same. It's not allowed. So the width on small screens is going to be full. Going to larger screens, it's going to be 3/5 of the screen. Okay. Padding on the top is going to be 5. So that's like a little over 1 rem. And then on small screens, padding on the top, sorry, not on small screens. Once you break above small screens, padding on the top is going to be 0. But I put the padding on the top a little bit when you stacked them on top of each other because that made it fit better. And it looks better. All right, so then we're going to do an image, the image source. We're going to go to the images folder and do static website.svg. I'll move those pictures over in a moment. I put for the alt tag, I put HTML and CSS. I want to put something descriptive here. And then we had a bunch of classes. So width on smaller screens is full, height on smaller screens is full, and all the way up because I didn't do a breakpoint. Padding on the x-axis of 8. I don't know why I keep saying pixels. I guess it looks like pixels. All right, so we're going to close out that div, close out this div, close out this div, and we are at the end of info section 1. Okay, so now we need to move over to that unicorn picture. So I have downloaded these and renamed them from Undraw. So I'm just going to go here. There's a static website 1. I want to copy and bring that into my project, into the public images folder, paste it there. Go back to my downloads. I'm going to copy the WordPress one because we're going to use that. And we'll go back here and paste it into there. I think that's it. All right, so now let's refresh and just kind of see where we're at. So I'm going to hit the refresh. Let me check something. The image is not showing up. So static website, I may have done an underscore here. Let me check. Let's try that. Yep, there we go. Okay, so, all right, so that is the first info section. Looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to move on to now the second info section. So we'll say begin info section 2. Okay, and let's see. All right, so I'm going to start this with a div with an ID of info section 2. And a class, the background of that light color, so LBG. That's what I called it. And then we have a div with a class of container, MX auto, because we need to center it, max width, screen extra large, padding on the x-axis 8, so I think that's 2 rem, padding on the y-axis of 12. Once we break above small screens, we want to go to flex, display of flex, and we also want justify in between. Okay, and then within that, we're going to have a div with an ID of left info section 2. We'll have a class with the width on smaller screens is going to be full, and then breaking above small screens, we're going to go to 3/5 the width across. Now, there's a whole bunch of combinations you can do with the width. You can do 5/6, 4/5, stuff like that. So just you can be very creative with it. Okay. All right. Within that, we're going to have the image now on the left. So the image source is going to be in the images folder. It's the WordPress.svg file. My alt text is going to be just WordPress. And I'm going to go to a class with the width of full, height of full, padding on the x-axis 8, so that's like 2 rem. Okay. Close out that div. And we're going to start into the right info section. So div ID is going to be right info section. Okay. 2. And we're going to have a class on small screens width full. Breaking above small screens, the width is going to be 2/5 of the screen. And breaking above small screens, we're going to have a margin on the top of 12. That's going to push it down a little bit and kind of put our text kind of even with the WordPress picture. Okay, so then under that, we're going to have a heading 3 with a class of dark gray. Text is going to be size 3XL. Padding on the y-axis of 2, so that's like 1 rem. And then we can say something like, we can be complex. We definitely can. Okay, we're going to close our H3 heading, and then we're going to have padding with a class of dark gray. Text is 2XL size, padding on the y-axis of 2. And then say something like, sometimes you need something a bit more complex. Close out that paragraph, and then below that, we're going to have a paragraph with a class dark gray. Text is going to be large, padding on the y-axis at 2. And what did I say here? I said, oh yeah, I said a bunch of stuff. Whether it be customized WordPress or another PHP project, Node.js, React, Angular, capitalize that, Angular, Vue, Svelte, whatever you need, we have you covered. And we'll close out that paragraph. Just like this YouTube channel, whatever you need, we have you covered. Or I have you covered, because I'm the only one that does it. And yeah. Okay, close out that div, close out the next div, and then close out the final div. And we are at the end of info section 2. Okay, and let's take a look. So refreshing. So now we've got, yep, we got our second section here. So we got that nice little section, and we had that padding on the top of 12. That brought it down here and kind of centered it vertically with the picture. That's why I use that on the larger screens. On the smaller screens, these are going to stack vertically, so I didn't want to do that. All right, so the final video, which is the next one after this one, we are going to make the contact form. It's not going to be functional, just for visual presentation of Tailwind CSS, because CSS is your style. So we're going to make the form and the footer, and that'll be the end of this tutorial series. If you like this video, please smash the like button. Please also subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, as it really helps the channel grow and encourages me to keep making videos like this. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.